Back with another 2019 college football team preview and prediction. Doing a whole series of teams. Done 10 or 11 so far. Got, I don't even know, 40 or 50 more to go. We're going to do these all the way up until the start of the season, which this year comes on August 24th with the week 0. A handful of games that day, capped off that night with the big Florida versus Miami game. And then the following weekend, week 1, is when all the teams kick off. I've done teams from all 5 conferences. I'm trying to sort of bounce around from conference to conference. Did Notre Dame, of course, an independent team. Up today, another ACC team. I think this is just the second ACC team we've done. We did, was it Florida State, I believe? Yeah. But up today, the Virginia Cavaliers. Hey, good morning, it's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right, it's me, Uncle Lou, and I'm live for you on LouTube today, so thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. That's not just a line I say at the beginning of the videos. You know, I put a lot of time, effort, and energy into these videos. They're all about 30 minutes long, but in reality, it takes 3-4 hours or so to make these videos, regardless of what people think. I do actually look things up and take notes and research these teams before I do videos. It may not always come across that way. Well, if you agree with what I say, then I'm the smartest YouTuber ever. If you disagree with what I say, then I've never played football, I've never seen a football, never watched it on TV, didn't do any homework or research, and I'm just an idiot Georgia fan giving my meaningless opinion. It's funny how that works, but I've been doing this for 6 years, and it works the same way every single year. With that being said, subscribe to this channel if you're not already. I post college football videos almost every single day of the year. Sometimes they're even watchable. And in my opinion, most of these preview videos I'm doing are extremely watchable. I'm just going to be honest, and you guys know I'm honest with you. I tell you straight up sometimes the videos aren't watchable. Not the case with these previews. They're watchable. You might even learn something. Give this video a thumbs up. It doesn't cost you anything, doesn't take you any time at all, but it's a huge help to me. So take the time right now and hit that thumbs up. If there's a video that you really like in this series of previews that I've done, share it somewhere. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Help get the word out. I'm trying to grow the channel here before the season starts, and I need you guys' help. Thank you. All right, the Virginia Cavaliers, ACC, right? What'd they do last year? Well, 7-5 in the regular season. Won a bowl game over an SEC team, South Carolina, finishing up 8-5. They beat South Carolina in the Belk Bowl. I think that game was 28-0 too. A lot of lopsided bowl games last year. Not going to get into the reasons for that. It is what it is. People have varying opinions. Who'd you lose to? Indiana? NC State? Pitt? Georgia Tech? Didn't see that one coming. And Virginia Tech for the 100th year in a row. Biggest wins, you beat Miami, but they had kind of a down year. And then South Carolina in the bowl game. Now, this is the point of the video where I'll usually put up on the screen for you guys to see my prediction for Virginia last year to see how accurate I was and how my predictions stacked up to how they actually did. For one reason or another, we never got around to doing one of these Virginia preview and prediction videos for 2018, so I don't have a screen to put up to show you so that you can laugh at me about how wrong I was. You know, I do these videos based on suggestions from different places, and for whatever reason, I guess nobody suggested Virginia. Off the top of my head, though, with them finishing 7-5, that's probably a game ahead where I probably would have had them. I had them middle of the pack of the ACC, I think, last year. I probably would have had them somewhere around 6-6. No way to know that for sure, but I think they had a better year than some people thought they would have. Why? Well, a couple of reasons. Number one, head coach Bronco Mendenhall. Like him or hate him, I think this guy knows what he's doing. When he came to Virginia, they were terrible. They hadn't been to a bowl game in forever, no winning seasons. I mean, they were just a forgettable program when Bronco Mendenhall got there. Of course, he came from BYU. Well, how happy is he to be out of that cesspool, BYU? What an embarrassment that place is, BYU. I guess Bronco Mendenhall is Mormon. I don't know. I guess you have to be Mormon to coach there again. I don't know. But in any case, he's got to be glad to be out of that hellhole and over in a place that actually matters, like Virginia. I digress before we end up regressing. But he knows what he's doing. He's got Virginia headed in the right direction. Back-to-back bowl games at Virginia. That hasn't happened since 2004 and 2005. So heading in the right direction. That's the main reason. Second reason, Bryce Perkins. This quarterback, at least to me, sort of came out of nowhere last year. Now, there's probably going to be some Virginia fans, maybe some Virginia Tech fans, or just fans of other ACC teams that may have knew who this guy was heading into last season. I'll freely admit I was not one of those people. He kind of caught me off guard, but he had a really, really good year. If you look at what he did, he accounted for 34 touchdowns, 25 through the air, 9 on the ground. So he's one of these guys, a true dual threat quarterback, in my opinion. You guys hear me talk/complain all the time. Way over half the quote-unquote dual threat quarterbacks in college are not dual threat quarterbacks. They're single threat. They can run, but they can't throw. This guy can do both. Now, is he as good of a thrower as somebody like Trevor Lawrence? No. But he's more than capable at getting the ball down the field through the air, and he gives you a whole lot with his legs, too. He was third in the ACC last year in total yards per game with 277 total yards per game. That's ground and through the air. And 34 touchdowns, I mean, that's nothing to laugh at. So very productive. He comes back. Probably the second best quarterback in the ACC heading into the season. Now, there are some other teams that have some highly touted, recruited quarterbacks with a lot of potential, but no one in the ACC right now outside of Trevor Lawrence has played better than Bryce Perkins. He's back. Him and Bronco Mendenhall together are going to give Virginia a chance to have a pretty good year, I think. Rest of the offense, you lose your top wide receiver from last year, and that kind of hurts. He was really, really good. I'm going to do like I normally do and try to pronounce this guy's name. Dimitri Zacchaeus. Again, I don't name these people, okay? So it's not my fault for pronouncing them wrong. Take it up with somebody else. You got some guys that I think can step in. I don't know if any of these guys are going to really give you what this Zacchaeus gave you. He was really, really good. But you got Joe Reed. He was a kick returner, like one of these, a dynamic kick returner. He's going to be at wide receiver. We'll see how that works out. You got several sophomores, juniors, and even a senior or two who were sort of lost in the shuffle last year behind that Zacchaeus guy. You need one or two of those guys to step up at wide receiver. I like what Bryce Perkins gives you with his arm and his legs, but he's got to have somebody to throw the ball to. So we'll see what kind of luck Virginia has replacing that production that they lost from Zacchaeus, I think his name is. Running back is a similar situation. You had a 1,000-yard rusher last year, Jordan Ellis. He's gone too, so you got to replace him too. So your best receiver and your best running back are gone. You got to try to replace those guys. You got this junior PK Kier, again with the spelling, and then it only gets better from there. You got a sophomore. This guy looked really good in the spring game. Wayne Tuwala Papapa. I don't know if that's Tua Tabaga-Baga-Baga's cousin or what. Wayne Tuwala Papa. So salute to you, sir. Again, I'm not the one that comes up with these names. Offensive line, you lose 3 key pieces off the offensive line, but you got a lot of young talent there at offensive line, a couple of returning starters. I think the offensive line will be okay. I don't think it'll take much of a step back. I think, if anything, it may be a little bit better than what you had last year. Some of the people that are coming in to replace what you lost, I think, may end up being a little bit better there. So I don't think you're looking at too big of a drop-off at offensive line. Biggest concerns, if I'm a Virginia fan, is replacing and finding a number 1 wide receiver, and same for your 1,000-yard running back that you lost. Now, this surprised me. I knew Virginia had a pretty good defense last year just from watching a lot of football games and reading scores and stats Sunday mornings and things like that. I didn't realize, I don't think, how good it was. Third best defense in the ACC, only gave up 20 points per game. That's elite. That's an elite level defense. Now, you can say what you want about the competition in the ACC versus maybe some of the other conferences and how that has the potential to skew some of the numbers. Whether that's true or not, it was still the third best in the ACC. So, maybe you can say, well, it doesn't compare favorably to maybe the third in the SEC or the Big Ten or something, but within the ACC, they still had the third best defense. There's no way to argue around that. Really good defense. And I think it could be better this year. Now, the offense on paper is going to be hard to match what it did last year, losing your top running back and your top receiver. With Bryce Perkins, though, if he can get better than what he was last year, I think Virginia could be a dangerous team. I think your defense is definitely going to be even better than what it was last year, and it was elite level, especially within the ACC. I think if Bryce Perkins even gets a little bit better and you can find 1 or 2 pieces to replace what you lost there at running back and wide receiver, I think the offense can be better too. Defensive line is your weak link on the defense. You're real thin there, inexperienced, not a whole lot of highly rated talent on the defensive line. So it would be nice if some guy, you find a guy that sort of over exceeds expectations or whatever there. But defensive back and linebacker, absolutely loaded. I think Virginia has the best secondary in the ACC. There's going to be a few teams that maybe can argue that, but they're no worse than second or third, Virginia's defensive backfield. And that linebacker, they lose a player or two there too, but they're very experienced and very talented at the linebacker position. I really think the defense is going to be better for sure, even than what we saw last year. The offense, I think, has the potential to be better. And if that's the case, Virginia could be a dangerous team in 2019. All right, let's take a look at the schedule. We'll do it like we always do. I'll put the schedule up on the screen here. We'll go through it game by game. I'm going to give you a winner and a loser for every single game and try to explain sort of what my thought process is with why I went the way I went on each game. All right, you start off right out of the gate, week 1, with a conference game on the road. Never a good idea. Georgia's got to do the same thing this year, play at Vandy. Ask me if I'm worried. No. But you play at Pitt. Pitt had an okay year last year. That whole division last year was sort of, I mean, you could flip a coin and pick any team. Pitt was, what, 7-5 and won the division. Sacrificial lamb to Charlotte to get humiliated by Clemson. And honestly, you're probably going to see a similar story out of that division this year. But week 1, you do have to go on the road and play Pitt. This is truly a toss-up game. I do think Virginia's a better team, but week 1, you just never know which team is going to show up ready to go right out of the gate. Week 1, you got to travel to play them there in Pittsburgh. I gave you the benefit of the doubt and gave you a win here, but this is, at best, I think, a 50-50 game. And if you don't find what you need on offense to replace those pieces, and for some reason the defense isn't ready to go, I could see a scenario where you lose that game. So if you're a Pitt fan out there, don't get mad at me. I truly think this is a coin flip game, but for the purposes of this video, I'm giving Virginia to win. You start out 1-0. Now you got a non-con game. You come back home. You have your non-conference schedule. 3 of the 4 are winnable. You've got to win those 3. William & Mary is the first one. You have them week 2 at home. You should get a win without a problem. Not much sense talking a whole lot about that game. Week 3, Florida State. I mentioned I already did a Florida State preview and prediction video, so if you've seen that video, you know which way I'm going here. You get them at home, and that's the main reason I chose you in this game. I do think Florida State's going to be a better team this year. I do think Florida State is going to beat some of the teams that they couldn't beat last year. I think Florida State's going to win a game or two that people don't expect them to win. I don't think it's going to be this one early in the season. I'm giving the home team the edge here. I've got Virginia beating Florida State and starting out 3-0. Week 4. Another one of those must-win non-con games. Still at home, Old Dominion. Yes, we know they beat Virginia Tech last year. And I guess every time anybody plays Old Dominion now, I guess we're going to have to hear about that one time they beat Virginia Tech, right? People are still talking about App State beating Michigan in 2007. You hear it every single year. You'll hear it this year. I think it's South Carolina plays App State. You will hear that all that week leading up to that game. Oh, South Carolina better not sleep on App State. They beat Michigan in 2007. Yeah, that was the last Power 5 team that App State beat. And it'll be eons before Old Dominion beats another Power 5 team. You won't lose this game. I give you a W. You're rolling through September at 4-0. That's great news. Bad news is you got a road game coming up after that on the road at Notre Dame. Loss. I've already done a Notre Dame video too. Now, this could be one of Notre Dame's toughest games. I mean, they have to play at Georgia and at Michigan. Those are obviously tougher. This one's at home for Notre Dame. Depending on how Southern Cal and Stanford end up being this year, though, Virginia could be Notre Dame's 3rd toughest game. You got to play them there, though. I have you losing that game. I think Notre Dame's going to have a good offense this year. Ian Book returns. He's going to be slinging the ball all over the field. You've got a great secondary. You know, if they play a great game, if you can find a way for that inexperienced defensive line to maybe get some pressure on Ian Book and make him uncomfortable, maybe you find a way to pull off a big upset there. But right now, I don't see that happening. I'm going to have to give you your first loss of the season here on the road at Notre Dame. That puts you at 4-1. First bye week comes after that. Every team has 2 bye weeks this year. It's nothing new. It's no change in the rules. It's just the way the calendar falls. In order to get the season to start on Labor Day weekend and end the first Saturday in December with conference championship games, it's an extra Saturday in there. So they gave every team an extra bye week. Yours comes after your 5th game. Now you have a huge game here on the road at Miami. This is a big-time game here. And here's my problem with trying to figure out that side of the division in the ACC. I think there's about 4 or 5 teams in there who are very similar. Probably 4 of those teams have a legitimate chance to win that division. I think you're going to see a lot of those teams beat each other up. In other words, Team A might beat Team B. Team B might beat Team C. C turns around and beats Team A, and you're going to have one of those messes where, there's no clear-cut dominant team. It's a road game. I gave you the benefit of the doubt week 1 at Pittsburgh. I gave Miami the benefit of the doubt here. They're at home. It does help you to get a bye week there. And listen, if Miami doesn't get the quarterback situation straightened out, who's it going to be? N'Kosi Perry, Tate Martell. If their offense is as pitiful or anywhere close to as pitiful as what it was last year, you'll have a chance to go down there and get a big win. Again, I don't think this is a game that you can pencil in. It's an automatic win for Miami. I would give you a shot here, especially if your offense comes around at the wide receiver and running back position and defensive line is better than what we think it might be. I would give you a shot, but for this video, I've got you taking your 2nd loss here. That puts you now at 4-2. Then you come back home for a home game with Duke. Duke had Daniel Jones last year, 1st-round NFL pick. He'll be playing for the New York Giants. They weren't very good with Daniel Jones. They're not going to be very good without him. I give you a home win here over Duke. Then you got a couple of road games here against some really bad teams, Louisville and North Carolina. On the road at Louisville, I gave you the win. Wholesale coaching changes, but listen, coaching wasn't their only issue. I've mentioned this a bunch of times. I'll probably mention it a bunch more. They have a huge talent issue too, and the issue is they ain't got none. You should roll into Louisville and get a win without a problem. On the road at UNC, I have you losing this game, and I think you're better than UNC, obviously. I think you're more talented on both sides of the ball than UNC. You got to play them there. They got Mac Brown. I think when a team brings in a coach like Mac Brown, you can say the same thing for Kansas in the Big 12. I think that's good for 1 or 2 wins a year that they otherwise wouldn't get. I'm going to give North Carolina a big win here at home for Mac Brown, knocking off what I think will be probably a top 20 team at that point in Virginia. It looks like you're going to win that game now. If you look at it, you'll probably be favored in that game. But another thing I say all the time, teams lose games all the time that they're not supposed to lose, okay? It happens every single year to almost every single team. Almost every team drops a game or 2 they're not supposed to. Almost every team wins a game they're not supposed to. They're hard to pick out in the preseason. I get it. But I think you catch another loss there on the road at UNC. Again, I think you're going to have a circle of teams beating each other here in the ACC, but I got you losing that one. That's your 3rd loss. You go back home, take on Georgia Tech. They're rebuilding too with a new coach and a brand new offense. They're going to run a sort of a pro-style / spread type offense, but they got all option pieces to run it with. Brought a few in to sort of help with that transition. I don't think it's going to be enough. I think Georgia Tech's in for a rough year here. I think you're just a better team. I gave you a win at home against Georgia Tech, and that takes you into your 2nd bye week of the year before your last 2 games. Your next to the last game is the 3rd of your non-con games that are absolutely must win against Liberty. What a terrible school and program Liberty is. Go out and hire Hugh Freeze. Christian school Liberty is. Hugh Freeze broke every single recruiting rule known to man at Ole Miss, buying every player he could afford, lying about it, text messages and phone calls on his cell phone to hookers and prostitutes. Fired from Ole Miss. Liberty looks up, gives him one of these and says, "Come on down, we'll take you." Redemption, I guess. I don't know. Good luck, Liberty. You're going to need it. I hope you go 0-11. Yep. But you're definitely losing this one, Liberty. I gave the win to Virginia. Type on all that stuff I just said down there, too. Last game of the year, Virginia Tech. I think you're going to come to this Virginia Tech game, and you get them at home this year. I think you're going to come to this game at this point in the season where you're a win and get in type situation. I think when this game comes around, you're going to be tied or 1 game ahead in your division. Beat them, you win your division, trip to Charlotte to play for the ACC title. Lose, another middle-of-the-road season and middle-of-the-road bowl game, which wouldn't be a total disaster for Virginia. That would be 3 bowl games in a row. We already mentioned you've gone to 2 in a row for the first time since 04 and 05, so it wouldn't be a total disaster if you lost to Virginia Tech and finished, what would that be, 8-4, I guess? That would not be a total disaster. That would be an improvement over last year's 7-5 regular season. Virginia Tech, it's hard to figure them out. They should have been a lot better last year than what they were, right? They beat Florida State week 1. People thought it was a big deal, including me. Then we realized a couple of weeks later just how bad Florida State really was. They go out and lose to old Dominion, Virginia Tech did, and just did not have a good year at all. I don't understand. When Virginia hired Mendenhall and Virginia Tech hired Fuentes, I thought they were both pretty good hires, but I thought Fuentes would have been the better hire. So far, that has not been the case. Bronco Mendenhall, in my opinion, has done a better job at Virginia than Fuentes has done at Virginia Tech. He's been somewhat of a disappointment. You haven't beat them in 15 years. Streaks are made to be broken, or are they? I give you the win. I think you finally beat your in-state rival, Virginia Tech. Like I mentioned, you get them at home. I think you're a better team. I think you'll have the best player on the field in this game in quarterback Bryce Perkins. I don't think Virginia Tech has anybody as good as him. Virginia Tech always seems to have an okay defense, but I don't know. I mean, if you play roulette and it lands on red 15 times in a row, a lot of times you'll bet black, won't you? It's bound to happen eventually. At some point, you're going to have to beat Virginia Tech. Uncle Lou tells you it's going to be in 2019. Salute to the Cavs on that. You finish the regular season at 9-3, and you win your division and earn a trip to Charlotte to get humiliated by the Clemson Tigers. All right, that's it. Appreciate you guys watching. Let me know down below where I'm wrong. Yep, and have a great morning.